Should I cut your call? So I cut your call now. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Prasad Kasbekar. I am a consultant cancer surgeon from Mumbai, specializing in breast cancer, head and neck cancers. I've been invited by the Cancer Aid Research Foundation to give a small talk on the basics of breast cancer. So I would like to start on that. I think you all had already got the flyer saying that I would answer four main questions about breast cancer, and let's start on that. So first thing is, what are the risk factors for breast cancer? Generally, breast cancer is seen in older women. So as you grow older by age, then the chances of cancer in any lump or presentation increase. Women with dense breasts or larger breast size are more prone to having breast cancer as compared to those with maybe less tissue in their breasts. Basically, breast is a cancer is a hormonal disease. So it is mainly associated with your cycles. So people who have got early menarche, means whose periods have started at an early age, or those who have got a late menopause, those who achieve menopause maybe after 45, they are more at risk of getting breast cancer. Other possible etiologies of breast cancer include hormone therapy, those who take hormone post menopause for any symptoms, or those who are taking OC pills on a regular basis. These are mainly your estrogen based OC pills more than actually the estrogen progesterone based OC pills, oral contraceptive pills. Anyone with a diagnosis of cancer earlier or a history of cancer, especially cancer such as ovarian cancer, are more at risk of developing breast cancer sometime during their life. Relatives with breast cancer, so your first degree relatives who you are directly linked to, such as your mother, sister, or your daughter, if they have got breast cancer, then you are also at a risk of developing breast cancer. Genetic mutations, so some genetic mutations are there, such as BRCA1 and CA2 are the most common or the most well-known genetic mutations that are seen in women who develop breast cancer. Though these are quite rare, but these are known to cause more aggressive breast cancers along with other cancers. So this is a little bit about what causes breast cancer, what are the risk factors associated with breast cancer, which people should be aware of. However, if you are do fall into one of these categories, I wouldn't say you should get scared about it, but just be aware that you are at risk of this disease. So, what are the signs and symptoms of breast cancer? So, this is more important for the layman to understand when and where, how would they suspect that they may be having a cancer, or when should they go to the doctor to find out, that they need to get evaluated further. Generally, women with a sudden change in their breast, which they have noticed over a period of time or quite this thing recently, is the most important sign of possibly harboring a cancer within. So things like any change in your texture of the skin or any change in the size or shape of your breast. Something like, a redness or rash which does not go with conventional medicines. Some more or less the most common symptom that someone would find would be a lump or a mass in the breast which they feel on regular palpation. Dripping from the breast means a small discharge from the breast which is unexplained, especially if it is from one side rather than both sides, means one nipple compared to both nipples. Then armpit. So breast cancer generally spreads from the breast to your axilla or your armpit. So any person who suddenly finds a lump or a mass in the armpit or suddenly develops some pain in the armpit region, these people are more at risk of developing breast cancer. Dimpling or sudden, these are all changes, or pulled up nipple or retraction of your nipple. If you notice it over a period of time without any plausible explanation, these things are the risk factors for breast cancer. So this is a simple algorithm that we have sort of developed to say how to go about if you are suspicious of a breast cancer. It is important for every woman today, especially above the age of 25 or 30, to learn self-examination of her breasts. This is something you can go to your doctor, basically a gynecologist or a cancer surgeon or a general surgeon, who will explain to you how to examine your breasts by yourself at your home and in a very coordinated and simplified manner. So in this way, you have to do it generally maybe once in a month or once in 3 months by yourself just to ensure that your breasts are healthy and fine. Now let us presume you have examined yourself and you have found some lump or some doubt or any one of the earlier symptoms that we had seen. So what do you do next? Next, the best thing is to firstly go to your doctor and visit him. The doctor will then examine you and then find out whether there is genuinely some abnormality or whether it is just your thought process. So on the first step, what they generally do is do a mammography coupled with a sonography. So this will characterize the tissue of the breast in a way. If the mammography is suspicious or say showing that there is something in your breast that needs to be evaluated further, then the next step usually is a biopsy. So that region in your breast which appears suspicious or which appears to be maybe malignant, they under localization that lesion is biopsied. So now the simple thing is if the biopsy comes negative, then we continue with further basically non surgical and non this thing treatments. So this is the basic thing. If it comes positive, then the next step of treatment is initiated. So what are the subtypes? This is more for the doctors or the physicians who might be listening in. It is basically breast cancer is known to be a sort of a hormonal disease also. So it is based on your estrogen and progesterone, which plays a factor in developing breast cancer also. So generally your breast cancer can be positive for these receptors or it can be negative. If it is positive, generally the results are better as compared to having a negative receptor. So I'll just give a very simple oversight of what the treatment options are for breast cancer. Uh, in general, breast cancer is considered in today's world as it's called more of a systemic disease than a local disease. So what that means is breast cancer per se is not only about treating the breast, but the body in entirety. Now initially the thought process was towards removing as much of the breast and disease as possible. Today the thought process is getting more conservative. It is about just trying to remove the cancerous part of the breast and maybe the regions where it may have spread, such as your lymph nodes and all, and conserving the rest of the breast and giving further treatments. So as you can see, the treatment is basically in 5 possible steps. The first step, or maybe this thing, most important step is surgery, where you do your biopsy, followed by surgery either in the form of a complete mastectomy, where you remove the entire breast, or in the form of a lumpectomy or just removal of the tumor. After surgery, generally treatment that follows based on that receptor study and the study at the slide I showed you earlier. So on that basis, a chemotherapy is generally initiated to the patient, along with maybe radiation, hormonal therapy, or targeted therapy. So this all is variable based on the kind of the characteristics shown by the tumor in breast cancer. In general, now this breast cancer disease, the treatment has evolved quite a bit in today's day and age. So there is no strict protocol that this is the path that we follow. Based on, I would say now this current mode of treatment is individualization of the cancers, which is very important, where each person is treated on an individual basis, and based on their stage or based on their disease, the treatment protocol is initiated. So some people might receive chemotherapy first, some people might receive surgery first. So that is the basic advancements and treatments that we have seen currently. So very simple listing of the stages of breast cancer. Stage 0 is basically your in situ cancers, or those which are not which are present within the breast cells but are not spread within the breast itself or invaded other structures of the normal tissues. Stage 1 is a very small cancer which is limited to the breast and has not spread into the surrounding lymph nodes or any other regions of the body, but it has spread into the tissues of the breast. Stage 2 are those which have either gone into the lymph nodes or breast cancers which have reached up to 5 centimeters in size. So these are larger cancers within the breast, but still quite early and amenable to full cure. Stage 3 is a more advanced stage where the breast cancer tumor is quite large or has spread to multiple lymph nodes in the body, but has not gone to any other distant sites of the body, like maybe your lungs or your liver or your bones. While stage 4 is the most advanced stage, where this is where surgery plays less of a role in treatment and it's more into chemotherapy and other targeted therapies. But this is where the cancer has basically spread to the rest of your body. So that in that sense, it is the most advanced stage in breast cancer. So now, me being a cancer surgeon, I would like to more delve into the recent advancements and the treatment that is currently seen in breast cancer. So earlier, the general treatment was, if a patient has cancer, remove the entire breast, remove the entire tissue from the axilla, remove as much as you can, and your chances of eliminating the cancer reduces or becomes next to zero. But as we learned more and more over the years through various trials, various tests, and various patient observations, we found that that does not actually affect the survival as much. The main today's concept of breast cancer is the concept of breast conservation. So initially it was of removal of the entire breast, removal of as much tissue as you can. Today it is saving as much tissue of the breast as you can. The basic concept being the result between the two is almost the same, and basically to reduce the psychological impact on the woman who is undergoing cancer treatment. So if the woman has basically her breast conserved after the entire treatment, breast looking almost normal or back to normal, the psychological impact of the same is much better as compared to someone whose complete breast has been removed, especially if they're in the younger age groups. So there is now currently, even in patients whose entire breast has been removed, the paradigm of reconstruction has now come into play. So those who have undergone complete mastectomies, removal of the breast, gone are the days where they have a flat chest wall on that side. We have now initiated a lot of reconstructions and procedures such that the woman may have a normal appearance. So this is important. The normal appearance is when the woman is fully clothed. It should appear as though there has been no treatment given to the patient in form of a surgical thing, where the external appearance is completely normal. So in that, Generally, it is there are three basic types of reconstruction that we do in today's day and age. One is using flaps. So what is a flap? Flap is something where you take tissue from one part of your body and put it in another part of a body to reconstruct or reform that part of the body. So basically flaps can be either this thing, it can be pedicle based or free flaps, that we can talk about later if you all are more interested. The next thing is putting implants. Implants are basically implants are basically external devices or external substances that we put within the breast tissue or the reconstructed tissue to give it an appearance of a normal breast. So these are generally in the terms of your expanders or silicone implants. So I'm sure many of you might have heard of silicone implants, which are quite uniform, used by many of the actresses and basic celebrities. Or we can use basically a combination of the two, where we use both a flap as well as the implant to give the ideal contour and ideal structure to the breast. So now, in cases where we do breast conservation, there is something known as your oncoplastic breast reconstruction. So when we do breast conservation, what is the basic principle? Breast conservation means if a patient has a tumor in a certain part of the breast, we just excise that tumor with a proper margin. Margin means normal tissue surrounding the tumor to ensure that we have not missed any tumor in the breast. So a simple slide, as you can see, is showing the basically the reconstructions that we do based on the location of the tumor. So based on that, the concept behind it is after the surgery, as you can see in the various slides over there, the breast looks as good as normal and maybe over time appears as though there has been absolutely no surgery or nothing done for the breast. So this is something that post operatively, cosmetically, the patient is very happy as well as the relatives. So now we'll just say there is, so as we talked about the flaps earlier, which I said I'll get into later, this is something known as the pedicle flaps. So pedicle flaps are basically we take tissue from one part or the other of the body and we put it on the other side. But the pedicle means that some muscle or some connective tissue is placed between the site of origin from where we harvested the thing and the place where we have placed it. So like on the left side, you can see something known as the LD flap, the latissimus dorsi flap, where we use a muscle known as the latissimus dorsi, which is present in the back along with skin, and get it in front of the body anteriorly to make a new breast or reconstruct that lesion. On the right hand side, you can see something known as the TRAM flap or the transverse rectus abdominis muscle flap, basically based on your rectus abdominis muscle. So this is basically the idea is to reconstruct the defect that we had with after surgery for the breast, where we have removed the entire breast in order to give a similar or a normal look. So in general, we also put something known as implants or expanders in this to give the normal breast shape as previously was there. Free flaps are, so the difference between a pedicle flap and a free flap is the free flap is completely detached from the site of origin and placed in the site where we want to implant it. And a microvascular anastomosis means basically the vessels of that flap are anastomosed with the vessels at the site of your origin, and there the reconstruction is done. So in difference between a pedicle and free flap is basically that free flaps are more cosmetically appealing as compared to a pedicled flap, because generally the site of origin is somewhere which is hidden in the body. So tomorrow no one will know that some surgery was done in that part of the body. So most common is like if you see under the most common one is done is the DIEP flap, which is from the anterior abdominal wall, and that one is the most commonly done. But the other two also are quite used in practice, which is one from the buttocks or at the back or the thigh perineal region. So implants. So as I had earlier said that implant space. So this is comes in combination with your flap reconstruction in patients whose entire breast has been removed. So these are the kinds of implants that we put in. where it can be either round or contoured. So women with breasts who are not exactly symmetrical can have these contoured implants, which is ideally designed as exactly as per your shape of your opposite breast. So post-operatively, once the woman is clothed, it looks as though both breasts are the same. So there are various types and subtypes of that, which I don't think we should get too much into details of. Another one is now even the next step ahead is nipple and areola reconstruction. So some people might even want the nipple and areola reconstructed in the reconstructed breast tissue that we have made. So we do something like as local flaps for reconstructing the nipple, or we take tissue from areas such as your vaginal region and we reconstruct that breast tissue. Along with that, we put tattooing around that tissue to make it look like a normal areola. So basically, post-operatively, both breasts should look as though they are symmetrical as well as identical. So this gives a very good psychological impact to the patient, knowing that once she has completed her treatment, things look as normal as earlier. So she can not only live a long and healthy life, but live a confident life as well. So basically now advancements have gone even further, where when the basic treatment of breast cancer includes removal of the cancer within the breast itself, as well as removal of tissue in your armpit, which is known as the lymph nodes. So the reason for that is basically the cancer spreads from your breast to that region. So we clear that region also in order to remove as much cancer as we can in a very aesthetic way. Many women after that do have problems in the future in terms of swelling of the arm, which is the most common long term problem seen in these women, especially after they take radiation also. So this is lymphedema of the arm. So now we have reached the era where even that can be sort of prevented or reduced by reconstructing the lymphatics within the armpit in order to reduce this lymphedema and promote lymphatic drainage from your arm. There are two types of things that we generally do in this. The first thing we do is something known as a lymphovenous anastomosis, where where your lymphatics are basically anastomosed with the veins in your arm or in your axilla, basically, in a very very precise manner, such that this lymphatic drainage can occur in and go ahead. A second thing is known as lymph node harvesting and implantation. So we take lymph nodes from other parts of the body and place it within the armpit with microvascular anastomosis, such that these lymph nodes reenact the function of the previous lymph nodes that used to be there prior to the surgery and treatment. So on a surgical perspective, I would say these are the basic treatments or the basic the basic advances that we generally follow in today's day and age. And this is, I think, the right of every patient to know that this is what can be done for him or her. Even male with breast cancer, by the way. So the next topic I'll try and get into, because of the current COVID crisis going on within the city and within the country of India nationally, is basically a few tips that I would give as my opinion as to how a patient of breast cancer specifically can go about treatment during this corona crisis. So a few points which, the first few points are basically reiterated by, I think, everyone in society, right from your newspapers to the TV, social media, everyone. So social distancing and graded isolation is the first and most important step. I would say the maximum risk to a breast cancer patient might be during her chemotherapy, where the immune functions are sort of affected during that therapy, and hence that patient might be more at risk of getting infections of any kind. So social distancing and graded isolation would be the first step. What is graded isolation? So graded isolation for the patient does not mean absolutely sitting at home and not meeting anyone. She should have basically a few of her confidence or close people, such as maybe her family members or who she meets on a daily basis, but avoid meeting unknown contacts. For example, the newspaper person coming, or anyone who comes on like your milkman and all that, avoid contact with such people. On an emergency basis, yes, she can go and travel outside as per required, but as far as possible during a treatment especially, she should try and be as home based as possible. Second thing is maintaining proper hygiene. So maintaining proper hygiene means bathing regularly, maybe even twice a day bathing if you are homebound. Or if you are traveling outside, the important thing is wearing a face mask, sterilizing your hands, maybe wearing gloves, and ensuring that once you come back home, the first thing or the first step you have to take is go and have a proper bath or a proper sterilization of your body. Healthy diet and exercise is very important. You have to keep your body healthy. This thing. The next thing would be to choose your hospital wisely. There are few hospitals still remaining that do not cater to corona patients yet. So search for these hospitals and preferably take treatment in these hospitals. The next thing would be try and isolate yourself during your treatment in the hospital. As far as possible, take a single room of treatment rather than multiple rooms or with beds sharing beds with other patients and contacts with their relatives. The next thing would be the same thing. Chemotherapy is the most critical step. Chemotherapy is the most critical step that I would say puts the patient at the highest risk of getting an infection, because at this point your immunological status and all might be hampered based on the chemotherapy you're taking. And the last thing would be try and take an early discharge and have home based care as fast as possible. Obviously after discussion with your doctor, I'm not saying that you have to put a risk to your health, but try to take home based care as much as possible in today's day and age. So these are the basic points I would say that one should look into during the pandemic. I would say not only for breast cancer, but any other ailment as much as possible. So that's it. That is the finished completion of this presentation. I wish I could get some your answer your questions or any doubts that you may have in front. So one question here that has come is, do breast cysts need to be removed? In general, I would suggest to depend on the size of the cyst. So very small cysts, maybe less than 2 centimeters, with their characteristics on your sonography and mammography suggesting that they are benign, can be observed. So the important part about these breast cysts is the characteristics on imaging and evaluation. If they appear to have any suspicion of a malignant component, especially if they have solid components or something in it, then these breast cysts, however small, need to be removed. But in general, clear breast cysts, which are obviously benign, can be observed. Any more questions? So there's one question: does this cancer past? 1 minute, it's gone. Does this cancer pass genetically? My friend's mom has breast cancer. So yes, there is a small genetic risk of breast cancer in basically first degree relatives. So if your mother directly has breast cancer, you are at a theoretical risk of getting breast cancer. But in a way, there's nothing to say that for you to get alarmed about it. Just that you have to be more aware. Do breast self examinations as I had earlier talked about, and secondly, uh, you also have to get yourself checked up by doctors at a regular interval. So there is a small risk, yes. So do we move ahead? I think. So I think this is the end of this talk. So basically, I would like you all to come in next week also. Next week we have Dr. Vibha Bhafna, who is a fellow in pediatric hemato-oncology from Pune, who is also the head of department in Bharatiya Vidyapeeth. So she will be talking tomorrow. She will be talking next week, Wednesday, 15 July at 12 noon itself, on what should my child eat? Principles of nutrition in children with cancer. So that is quite an interesting topic, basically of nutrition in children with cancer, which she will be talking about, I think, next week. I hope whoever came in today will definitely come in next week also to hear the same. So thank you for coming in, I guess. So someone has asked over here, I just as okay.